We spend a lot of time talking about how Darcy changed, how he became humbler, how he learned to respect people he once dismissed, how Elizabeth transformed him. But I want to offer a different reading. Darcy didn't change. Not fundamentally. He learned something far more difficult and far more useful. He learned where to aim what he already was. And modern psychology, it turns out, agrees with Austen on this completely.
You to call. Mr. Bennet, of course, would have paid his addresses before this, were it not, well...
Psychologists have long debated how much personality shifts over time. Research suggests that while people can grow and evolve, their core traits remain relatively stable.
The theory of the Big Five personality traits claims that we can describe ourselves with 5 main characteristics.
The Big Five personality traits, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, tend to stay consistent throughout adulthood. In other words, you don't become a different person. You become a more skilled version of the person you already are. Shifting your Big Five traits does not change the core of who you are. It simply means learning to respond to situations in life with different thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This is the distinction that matters for Darcy. He was always someone with exceptional judgment, exceptional capacity to read situations, manage outcomes, and exercise influence. These weren't flaws. They were the raw material of his character. The flaw was never the capacity. The flaw was where he aimed it.
But I fear Mr. Darcy is mourning the loss of Miss Eliza Bennet's pert opinions and fine eyes.
Quite the contrary, I assure you.
At the Meryton ball, Darcy looked around a room full of people and decided they were beneath him. He made that assessment publicly. He directed his judgment and his social power downward, at people who had no means of defending themselves against his opinion. He called Elizabeth tolerable within her earshot. He dismissed an entire community with one evening's observation. This wasn't a man without intelligence. This was a man using his intelligence to enforce distance, to perform superiority, to demonstrate in front of an audience that he was above the ordinary obligations of social kindness. His power was real. The direction was wrong.
There's not a woman in the room whom it would not be a punishment to me to stand up with.
A person who often gets aggressive in group settings when someone challenges his ideas causes discord in people. What's needed is not the elimination of that trait, but learning to see those circumstances differently and practice a new way of responding. Most people are capable of acting many different ways, and most people can probably change key behaviors in this way. Darcy's aggression was social contempt. The capacity underneath it, the ability to assess, to influence, to manage, was never the problem.
I am sure that the feelings which have prevented the acknowledgement of your regard for me will very soon triumph altogether.
Elizabeth's rejection didn't change Darcy. It showed him something he had never had to confront before. His certainty about his own strength had been tested, and it failed. He was certain he could manage any connection, any complication, any consequence. He proposed with the confidence of a man who had never been wrong about himself. Elizabeth told him directly that he was wrong, not just about her feelings, about who he was. You have been the means of ruining, perhaps forever, the happiness of a most beloved sister. This wasn't a romantic rejection. It was a verdict. And it forced Darcy to look at the same capacity, the same judgment, the same influence, the same power to shape outcomes, and ask a question he had never asked before. What have I been using this for?
I'm only distressed by some dreadful news which I've just received.
The Lydia crisis is where we see the answer. Darcy goes to London. He works through Gardner, a tradesman, a man he would once have dismissed without a second thought. He finds Wickham. He pays the debts. He funds the wedding. He does the difficult, unglamorous work of repairing damage he didn't cause. And he tells no one. The capacity is identical to the first Darcy. The same judgment, the same ability to manage complex situations and difficult people, the same confidence that he can handle what others cannot. But the direction has completely reversed. At the Meryton ball, he aimed his power down, at people with less status, less money, less social standing. He used it to enforce hierarchy. In London, he aimed it up, at a problem bigger than his personal comfort, in service of people who had no claim on him whatsoever. He used it to repair.
But now I come to think of it, I need not have worried. Mr. Darcy would have done just as well.
Mr. Darcy?
Gracious me! I forgot. I promised so faithfully. It is a secret.
While our basic temperament may not shift dramatically, true transformation is possible. But it doesn't happen by accident. Growth happens when we embrace challenges and make conscious choices to evolve. Darcy didn't become a different man. He made a conscious choice about what his strengths were for.
You told me now that she was in London all those months, and you concealed it from me?
Yes. I can offer no justification. It was an arrogant presumption based on a failure to recognize your true feelings, and Miss Bennet.
And this is where Austen's argument becomes genuinely radical. She isn't saying pride is bad and good people become humble. She's saying something more specific. Power without direction is not a virtue. Intelligence without humility about where it should be applied is dangerous. The capacity to influence outcomes is neutral. What matters entirely is what you choose to do with it. Darcy at the ball thought his power was a gift to himself, evidence of his superiority, something to display for an audience. Darcy in London understood that his power was a responsibility, something to be used where it was needed, not for display, not for an audience, quietly, anonymously, at real cost. This is not a story about becoming less proud. It's a story about learning what pride should actually be for. Modern psychology confirms what Austen intuited 200 years ago. People can intentionally shape the traits they need to be successful in the lives they want. Shifting your big 5 traits does not change the core of who you are. It simply means learning to respond to situations in life with different thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
Miss Bennet?
Mr. Bingley?
Darcy's core didn't change. His response did. And the difference between those two things is the entire second half of Pride and Prejudice. The question isn't, did he become a better person? The question is, did he learn to aim better? Tell me in the comments, do you think this reading makes Darcy's arc more or less romantic? Is a man who learns to direct his strengths more compelling than a man who fundamentally transforms? I'm Sana. This is Monica's Pie. The story's never just the story.